Hi and welcome to Angling For You. Today join me at the lovely Tom's Pond and we're going to be doing a spot of chopworm and castor up to the islands. This is only a small fish to start, but this is the target for today. You may get the odd carp or F1 put in through the day, but what we're aiming for today is to catch a nice bag of silvers. And chopworm and castor's a favourite in the winter month for sure, but it also does real damage in the summer months as well. And the way we're fishing this today is, obviously I'll go into detail with how we prepare it, but we are fishing it with a little bit of touch of hemp in there as well, just giving that a little bit of extra attraction to attract those fish into the peg. Now I'm going to rebait once I can get this bit of worm off my line. There we go. So I'm alternating between a worm head, or I will alternate between a worm head or a little bit of tail and castor. I've also got some maggots as well, so if I do want to put a maggot on later on, then I've got that option as well. If I'm fishing chopworm and castor, I always carry a little bit of maggot as well. So every time we ship out, we want to be putting that little chopworm and castor, and it's got, like I say, it's got a little bit of hemp, it's got a little bit of soil in there as well. It wasn't windy until the second we got his pole out, but it is quite windy just on the pegs that we're fishing, which is not always the case, which is making it rather difficult with it being a side-on wind as well. But we're going to persist and see if we can present. We'll go through the rig in a little bit more detail, and we'll go through the preparation of the bait as well. So it's only a light setup, as you can imagine. I've got an 8 elastic hollow Garbolino, and it's just beautiful for not bumping any of these little fish, but also it'll power up if we needed to catch any of these bigger eyed or these potential carp or F1s that we may encounter later on. But there is some good stamp bream and there is some good stamp tension here as well, so there's always a chance of hooking into one of those, especially when you're fishing natural baits. Not fishing directly on the island, just fishing very slightly off the island on the slope. As you can see, this wind's a nightmare. I've got a little bit of a back shot to stop the float from towing, which is fine, but the tip blowing side to side, fortunately you can't really do anything about that, which is a bit of a pain really, when that's the feature that you're wanting to fish to. Even more annoying than when you can see the rest of the pond, it's not actually any wind, it's just where you're fishing, which is rather annoying. But it is slightly longer lash than you normally would have. It's around the 10-inch mark. Into another little fish now. Around the 10-inch mark, but obviously it will be shorter if you didn't have the wind to contend with. A nice little hide, beautiful little fish. And this is what we're more than likely going to see most of today, especially whilst fishing worm, is his lovely little hide. And today is not about that, catching those massive fish. It's about just enjoying your session, and whatever comes across and takes the bait. And Tom's Pond is a really good venue for that. It's a good mixed fishery with a head of everything in there, and that does make for fun fishing and allows you to just not know anytime that float goes under what's going to be grabbing it, which for me is what I fell in love with fishing in the start. We'll just have one more fish, and we'll then have a go through the rig, and I'll explain to you how how we were preparing the bait, and show you how easy it is really. And a lot of people get put off with chop worm and caster, and they think it's, you know, it's difficult to fish, and it's really not. It's you know, we're fishing on the deck as well today. It's it has dropped to around 14 degrees. If it was a little bit warmer, you might end up catching them on the drop. May happen later on with the hide, but we'll see as the day progresses. Hopefully that wind will subside a little bit. That was a better bite. took the elastic out on that one. That feels like another hide. It definitely wanted that. I just lifted it up, and it took that straight away. You see this nice light elastic, you can do that with it, and that's just a slightly bit bigger hide, and that's the kind of stamp we really want to catch. Not perfectly in the lip, it's a good size. Get them back in. We'll have a little get this turn round, and we'll get this bait off, and we'll give you a little show around the rig and see how we're catching them. Right guys, we're going to start by looking through the bait. Now I've got some of my chopped bait there. I'm just going to put some more worms in so I can show you how we do that. It does feel a little bit brutal. If you're a bit squeamish and you don't like any sort of minced up things, then it's probably not the session for you, but you can get worm scissors, which usually have like 3 or 4 blades. It just means it's quicker when you snip them up, and you're just effectively just snipping them up. There's no real size, but if you're going for silly small fish, then really fine. If you're going like today where you could catch anything, just a rough chop. So once we've done that, I had a couple of pinchers, a caster to it, and a very small pinch of hemp as well. You don't have to put hemp in if you don't want to. And then I go back and I get some soil, and then just mix that up, and that leaves you with the bait itself. And just shake all that together, and you want that soil in there for cloud, and it'll cloud it up and just bring those fish into the attraction. So I'll leave that there. We'll get the rig with added plant attached to it. So it's quite a simple rig, to be honest. I've got a little chimp 0.3 ProGen float, and the reason I use that is I've dotted it right down. I can just see the tip, but it's quite short, and it'll take a little bit of weight so I can hold the line tight, and it just allows me to present my bait really nicely. I've got 1, 2, 3 dropper shots throughout the spread out bulk, and they're number 9s, and I've got a number 10 about 3 inches from the hook, and like I said, I've got a number 10 again about 4 inches from the top of the float, about 2/3 of the way down the lash. And the hook link itself is a bit longer hook link. I want the line to be quite line falling through the water. It's nearly half the rig, which is usually a bit longer than normal, but it's 0.13, and I don't want any visible line, and if they ping off it, I want it to be quite light, because they're smaller fish, and they sometimes can be a bit wary. So we've got probably about 18 inches of 0.13, and the main line's 0.15, and a tiny PR, no, it's not a PR36, it's a KKMB 16, and it's quite a small 16. You could put an 18 on if you wanted, but just in case we have that, they do catch some carp. Like I said, I've got an 8 hollow, as you can see, which is really slack, and that's to a Guru Dacron connector. It's a really simple rig, and we've got one of the midi tower pots on there as a feed pot. We don't want to feed stupid amounts every drop, but we're filling that every drop, as long as the fish are coming. And like I said, you can pick a bit of worm from what's in your chopped worm. It don't really matter if you want to put it through the collar. of the worm, or just use a worm head. But once you've chopped it up, any sort of small piece is perfect size for what you're going to do. And I've just hooked that, nicked that on, as you can see, and you know, fish are going to take that, no problems. So we'll get back out, we'll flick it round and see if we can get back into some more fish. Into another fish. Feels like another carp. Going hard for the island, and it's swimming back to us a little bit. It's going to break here, just in case. It just gives me a loud, with this elastic's nice and stretchy. It's only a little F1. You never know the way they go off. It's only a small elastic, so it's best to just get them under control first, and I can always reach the island with the elastic with the top kit from here, so there's no worry about that. F1's just decided to digest this hook, which is never a good thing. Lovely worm still on there. Worm still proving popular, but you've got to be quick if you think that the carp are in your peg, and you've caught one. Certainly there's always a chance that there's going to be more there. You've got to be quick on the retrieve. I've only got light elastic on because we've only been after the smaller fish today, so you just got to make sure that you're shuffling back pretty sharpish. Otherwise you can get into it going around the island and things like that, and you're in a world of pain when stuff like that happens. Little quick tip with your worm: if your worm's rolling over your hook, give it a couple of slaps over like that, and it stuns it, and it'll dangle, and it won't affect how you are, how your presentation is. The cad put back up, the chop worm, and cast it, and out we go again. I've put a little bit bigger worm on this time. I'm hoping that might translate to another carp. Only time will tell. Just main thing at the moment is just battling this wind. It's very windy. Might not look windy, but out there it's just so gusty on your pole kit. You get it settled, and then it drags it out of position just like that. But we'll try and persist. As soon as there's just had that carp, and to another fish now. Again, it feels like another small-eyed. new midi nets are great. Just slide through water so easy. Really are good. Oh. That's a little bit better ride. That's kind of the stamp that you want to catch. Beautiful fish, that one. Let's get him back. And what I did there is just change it up a little bit and put 3 maggots on. And that's why I say to you, feed chop worm and caster, but that's good to alternate that bait. So I had 3 maggot on there, 2 reds and a white, and I just rolled them on my knee to kill them off a little bit. And sometimes that can bring a little bit bigger fish. And this is where you carry additional bait. That's although we're feeding that chop worm and caster, we've got different baits to try on the hook. It just keeps your options varied and allows you to sometimes put bigger fish in your net. Like I say, that one was definitely a better stamp fish, that one. And as you can see, this wind is atrocious today, it really is. And it's just sad because you turn up and it's, you know, it's really nice, and the wind, there's no wind whatsoever, and you get set up and you think, you get your plan and idea for fishing it, and then you actually literally get there to fish. It's like any stronger, and then I wouldn't fish at this length. Another ride. I'm feeding nicely on that bait. Oh, it's not, it's a skimmer this time. And I must say, I am loving this midi net. If you've never tried them, super dry nets, they're mega. They're just super easy to net with. I mean, you just go through the net, it doesn't drag or anything, the water just sort of dries straight off it, so you're not getting soaked feet every time you bring it in, which is just good, isn't it? I mean, some people wear wellies and they're not fussed, but a lot of time I go, to be honest, I wear trainers, unless it's in winter. So if anything that's not going to wet my feet as much as it normally does, then that's a bonus for me. Get a bit more bait in. Now, like I say with every sort of fishing, it's just about being methodical and just taking your time. When that wind's blowing, just wait until you get a little gap so you can just drop your bait accurately. And when you're shipping out, just be nice and steady. Make sure you pick that spot where you are every time. Flick that out. Just in the spot I've got is just in the middle of a little bulk of reeds, and I just lay it slightly up from where that is, and it just settles over where I've just put the bait in. Sometimes dropping it right on the bait is not as good. I just went straight away. Sometimes not dropping it on directly on top of it is always the best thing. Sometimes you're just dropping it just in front of it when you've got a bit of tow on. Just dropping it in front of it and just letting that rig relax back down to it is better for getting a presentation, and you see that straight away. It's a little bit another better fish. Another ride, good stamp. Took them 3 maggots, no problems, not even a second's thought. And we've just stepped up the size at the moment to a little bit better than what we were catching on that worm. So at the moment I'll remain with that until I get any change in size. Good to have a towel to hand, and because you've got casters, it's best to store them with water and sort of water covering the top of them, so it always means you can just have a little bit of water to dip your hands in after you've put your bait in the cad pot, and obviously you don't have soil all over your hands to ship out with. It's a little easy tip to follow. Ooh, it's going. It's going. This one's from down the edge, guys, on chopped worm and caster. Just a small carp, it feels like. We're using very light gear. It's the same stuff as we're fishing at the island. So 013 bottom, 8 hollow. So and size 16. Not a big carp. Couple of pound. Maybe just a big F1 actually. Oh, there we go. Beautiful. Just rolled over in the net. Getting back in, lovely F1. So hopefully this has been a little insight into catching on chopped worm and caster. It's a really good method to try about in the summer. Like I said, today we're targeting smaller fish, and just having that we don't know what's going to happen sort of scenario when the float goes under. So it's you know, it's going to be a good session. I've obviously been catching lots of fish already, and I'm sure there's going to be lots more to catch for the rest of the day. But thank you very much for joining us. Join us on the YouTube playlists and find out if there's anything else that you would like to see. There's lots of stuff on there. If there's anything that you want a video doing, just let us know and we'll do our best to sort of try and accommodate that as well. Join us on the Facebook group Angling For You, and join us on the Instagram if photos are your thing, on angling_for_you, and share those photos and comment, and if you need to get in touch with us, you can get in touch with us on either of those as well. So thank you very much for watching. Share, like, subscribe, and put that bell icon on to not miss any of the notifications that come up. And until the next one, guys, thanks a lot for watching.